fast-spreading new versions of the coronavirus, empowering
protection from deception.
This is Truth Frequency Radio.
Live from Melbourne, Australia, and all around the world, wherever you may be. I'm your host, Nikki Colombo, and welcome to the Nikki Colombo Show, a show for starseeds and light workers and the indigo races and the awakened. And I have the most amazing guest coming on tonight. I've been looking forward to this. It's been absolutely fantastic timing. It's worked out perfectly. We did do a show a few months ago, and we had some technical problems, and it was all a blessing in disguise because it's worked out absolutely fantastic. Because in the meantime, I had a wonderful session with this guest coming on. She's so hot right now. Her schedule is booked up for this year. And her name is Becky Barron. So Rebecca's abilities to see and understand individuals like no other. Oh, yeah. Her insights into consciousness allows her to see the matrix programming and false perceptions placed upon consciousness, including the abuse the matrix is conducting. The results of her work is helping individuals to gain all of their consciousness back so they can manifest the reality they wish to create. And we're going to talk about that tonight. Rebecca's work covers a wide range of issues that individuals suffer with including mental health, physical health, relationship issues, to social and sexual issues. I'm going to be talking about that tonight too. And Rebecca also frees individuals from psychic and black magic attacks. So Becky Barron, welcome to the show, darling. How's it going?
Hi, Nikki. Thank you for having me on the show. Yeah, excited to be here.
I know, isn't it amazing? Now, you and I, we did a video a couple of months ago. It was perfect timing. It was meant to be, and I named it what a real golem looks like, and that is on the Nikki Colombo Show on YouTube. And I suggest everyone to go and have a look at that show because it's actually a session with Becky, and we talked about golems. And that ties into the sexual misery program, and I suggest people to go out and research that topic as well. Now, we're going to get into a little bit about how it all started for Becky a bit later on, but one of the number one questions that I've always been asked and everyone asks, nobody can ever really understand it, and it ties into a lot of miscreation. So we're going to ask Becky, darling, my darling, as little kids, 1 in 3 of us have been sexually molested or assaulted. And now we all have come to the understanding that we create our own reality. So what did we do as little kids to create such an horrific experience? So take it away, darling.
Okay, sweetheart. Well, we have come into a reality where child abuse is horrific. I mean, it's just infiltrated all our consciousness. But when we are little, we are born into our mums and dads' consciousness. And so they have a lot for how their consciousness works. We have within ourselves male and female consciousness, but we're attached to our mums all the way through childhood till we're supposed to reach like puberty, and then we can't detach from her. So she has like an abusive victim mentality within her belief structures, then that's going to affect us too. And how reality is created. And there's also influence over us, huge influence over us to create a reality that is abusive. Now, recently, I've just discovered that the reppies actually place a dinosaur programming into the boys and a princess programming into the girls. And the princess programming actually puts images of over-sexualizing images in the right side of the brain. What this does, it's not just sexualizing images, but it causes body, also programs the child to have body images, body problems with their physical body, like see it as a negative thing, self-harm and moodiness. And they do this like energetically. They go up the spine and they try to take control of the right side of the brain. And there's a Dinosaur program as well. And this causes self-harm. The child will start to have self-harm images placed into the right side. It will teach a child anger, aggression, how to manipulate, and disrespect. So you have the Dinosaur program and the Princess program. And this is done by the reptilians.
Wow. So as we were growing up and we see all these beautiful images of women, and I remember I was very lucky with my daughter. I worked in a makeup studio, so I knew about the manipulation of images, and a lot of her little school friends were having this dysmorphic I'm not good enough, because they're seeing all these images in the magazines and the movies and stuff like that, and they don't actually fully realize that a lot of that is manipulation into perfection, which is basically almost impossible to have any perfection in this world that we are in at the moment. And this creates this low self-worth and this dysmorphic I'm not good enough, and then, you know, the over sexuality with you know, little kids going into shows and all that kind of stuff. So you can see that how that's really mind control, isn't it, Beck? It's a mind control program, isn't it?
And that's on the outside. That's in our reality. But this program actually goes into our consciousness. So our babies are getting programmed when they're fast asleep, and you think they're nice and safe tucked up into their bed, and they'd actually go in. I'll tell you a little story. A lady came to me, and her son was he was getting, you know, saying, I'm really angry at that person, but I know I'm not. I like that person, but I also hate that person. So it was really conflicting within him, and he expressed this to his mum. And I went in and I was looking at him and looking at his the physical body, and I saw a red cord up his spine. Now, when I see that, I know it's reptilian, and I just take it out. But what I also I've never investigated any further. But when this little boy was actually being looked at by a healer, and she was a love and light healer. So she worked with galactic beings. And I looked at her, and she looked really beautiful, really good, like, you know, intentions. But the beings that she was working with, when I went up and looked at them, looked really beautiful at first, but it was all a charade. And actually what she was attached to was a huge reptilian energy. And she had hooked him up to the reptilian energy. So they were then, the red cord allowed them to go up his spine, gain access to the right side of his brain, and then they implanted the Dinosaur program. So I went back down to him, and I looked at the right side of his brain, and I saw dinosaur images. And I was like, he's got dinosaur images. And she goes, oh, he loves dinosaurs. He's fascinated with dinosaurs. And then I saw self-harm, aggression, that they're teaching him how to manipulate and disrespect people. And he was 4 years old, so he was going to have. And what this does, Nikki, also, it starts to split the left and the right brain, because the left side has got the female energy, doesn't recognize the male energy, it becomes abusive. So the heart, they start to lose connection with their female energy, and that also losing connection with their mum, you know. So and the wider the split, then it causes lots of problems, and it goes into autism.
Wow. Now you were mentioning about when we do suffer trauma that our consciousness splits. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, how that kind of works?
Yeah, of course. So for the first 7 years, well, anytime. So as soon as we enter into our mum's tummy, as soon as we experience trauma of some sort, we're consciousness, we're like a river of consciousness. So if we experience trauma, the consciousness splits. And that consciousness goes into that part of that consciousness that holds that belief. Because every time we have a trauma of some form, we create a belief out of it. Like, I'm not loved, I'm not wanted, I'm not needed, unworthiness, whatever that belief is. And then they place that belief in a holographic room. So when we trigger, we go into one of these rooms and we experience that trauma again, or that perception that is made at the time of the trauma. So basically what I do is go and find the trauma, and they hold it also, it gets projected somewhere in their body, which causes problems in their physical as well. So it's our traumas that we have create our perception of reality, and then we start to, when we break away, from our parents, we can actually start to create more trauma within us because they're still within our consciousness and that hasn't been resolved.
And you actually can see the light body. And tell us how that works, Beck. I know how it works because you've told me, but it's kind of funny talking about these rhetorical questions tonight. But just explain to the audience, okay, how did this all start for you? Actually, how did you had an awakening, not as a little kid, but a bit later in life, like I did, and all that? How did that all start?
Yeah, I was 27, and my health started failing. I think that was, and then I started questioning the medical industry, which I worked in. And then, but when I went abroad, I had a huge awakening, like bang. And all this information started to come through and I just did not understand it. And it went on for a couple of months, really intense. And I was like, God, the world's run by these lizard people. What's all this about? And then I found David Icke, and he was amazing and was able to calm me and not make sure that I'm going crazy, But then that awakening.
Oh, I attest to him for not putting me in a mental hospital. I've had him on my show. I love him. After my awakening, I found him the very next day, and I was doing the vacuuming, and I heard him on Coast to Coast, which you're going on soon. And I dropped the vacuum cleaner. I went, who is this guy? And bang, everything started to flood in, and I'm like, oh my God, this is incredible. So I actually credit him for saving me and going to a mental hospital, because when I first woke up, I had nobody around me and I thought I was going nuts too. And I know a lot of people go through that, and he really does deserve some credit, especially with the reppy stuff too, And I was going to introduce you tonight. So she's ruffled a few feathers, and I was just hang on, she's ruffled a few scales.
Yeah, I certainly have.
You certainly have, but it's all in good. It's all in good. Okay, so take it away. Okay, so you got in.
Yes, I had the awakening, and then I came back from traveling, and I went and did the Dolores Cannon quantum healing hypnosis, and then things just got weird in that. It wasn't like normal. I hadn't, putting people in hypnosis, and the ETs would come through and stuff like that, and then it kind of went into attack. So I started getting attacked by a supposed healer. And then that really God, it's the same things happening to my family that happened when I was growing up. And I just wanted to know what the hell was going on and protect my babies, Like the mother instinct comes out. And then I started to travel and started to understand what was going on. And the deception that's been over us. And it's just, I started YouTube a couple of years ago. So you see my journey, because I had another big awakening 2 years ago where I started to see the matrix. So around every planet, there was this matrix system that's run on traumatized consciousness. Because when the satanic stuff that happens, it traumatizes the consciousness so much, it becomes so condensed that it produces electricity. And that's what runs the holographic rooms and everything like that. And then started to see the light bodies, and then these bodies of light that we all have, and how they're, there's machines around them, planting numbers in them, planting programs in them to get us to create something that isn't beneficial and keep this abusive victim mentality going. And the reason that they do this, they live off, the heart energy, the female energy is like a drug to them. They get high off it. That's one side. And that's the reptilian. So they're in this universe. But then there's another universe with the Watchers, these giants. And they basically wants to help us, one side of the Watchers, and the other side of the Watchers wants to merge us with AI.
That's really
So,
dangerous. That comes into the transhumanism agenda that has kind of faded away now. But I've got this deep feeling that the injections are designed not now, but later on, after people have them, to be an interface into a full-blown Borg AI. What are your feelings on that, Beck? Do you reckon I'm on the spot with that?
what I've seen about the vaccines is that the vaccines have a like a live virus in them, some sort of weird virus that lays dormant when it goes into the body, and then it activates a few years later, and the person gets chronically ill, but won't put it down to the vaccine. They'll put it down to something else, so they'll get the body to start failing. That's what I've seen with the vaccines. But I mean, this is all like quite scary stuff, but there is like a split going on in our reality, and there's a very dark reality taking place, but a very beautiful reality taking place where people are connecting to their hearts and actually creating a beautiful reality. So in my eyes, in how I perceive this, they've basically lost the war, and we've got a lot of cleanup to do. And
that starts right at the very beginning when we have childhood trauma. We really need to go back and right back into the trauma. Now you explaining to me that when we did our session, you could see the consciousness, and I took you all the way back. How do you see that, darling? What does that look like? And how did I do that? How did I take you all the way? How does that? What are the images that you get? What's it look like?
Yeah, I see two light bodies, male light body and a female light body, and they're bodies of light. They're beautiful. They're bodies of light. And then behind them is a stream of consciousness, which is their timeline. So everything they've lived in this life and the experiences. So you see the trauma and everything. But I always get the consciousness to show me what's troubling them. And then behind that, it goes up, so they connect to Gaia, they connect to universal energies. Then we go into the spirit, so the higher self, and then that connects to the soul. Now the soul is quite interesting. The souls have been trapped, so they were trapped for a long time because they trapped the souls, because the souls produce light bodies, and so each light bodies that are created can go into a physical reality. So we can live many, many, many lives all at the same time. So we can access lots of information within us. So when we ask ourselves the question, if our light bodies don't know, the information goes up through the higher self, it goes to the soul, and the soul will try to retract the information from other light bodies that we're living, and then send that information back. So when we ask the question and we don't get it straight away, it may come a few days later, a few weeks later, months later. It just depends how long it takes. Now, so our evolution is going to really speed up because the souls have been free from this entrapment. And so we're producing more light bodies. Therefore, we have more experiences and more information to guide us through life, our own information.
Now, is that because of the universal energies that coming into, is that what's helped us free the souls?
Well, Gaia took down this.
In other words, who's freed the soul? Who's freed us? Because there is a light at the end of the tunnel, guys. There is a light. Okay. Yeah.
Oh God, this beautiful reality. I mean, we're basically at the moment we're seeing the structure of the abuse all falling down. So the elite. When I look at the elite who are here and trying to still place the control and manipulation and deception over humanity, when I look at them now, the suicide rate is so high and the murder rate is really high because the dark are imploding on themselves. So that's what it's not going to be televised, but that's what's going on at the moment. But the souls were released just before around Christmas time. I was with Gaia at the time. She pulled it all down. I did a video on it.
Oh,
so that was an amazing day. It's on my YouTube channel.
Okay, and your YouTube channel is called
Find the Light RB.
There you go, guys. Isn't this amazing information? I mean, honestly, when I found you, it was an absolute fluke. And then when we had that hiccup on the show last time, I was, bloody hell, everything was all out of sync. But it turned out to be perfect timing because you gave me a session and you found this golem.
Yeah.
And these are quite rare, aren't they? I'm
They
like,
are.
oh man, and you were attacked trying to get this bloody thing off me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't see them. These golems, basically what they do is they live off the female energy and steal basically the sex drive of the person that has them. I've only seen them in women. So that the sex drive just, yeah, and they're nasty. They're really nasty.
And was that
to get them off?
Was the black magician? Did he put that in my field?
I don't know. I didn't look how you got it. It's just,
okay.
I just, got it out. Yeah, he reacted. I was like, oh my God, this. I rarely see them. I think I've only seen it on 3 women.
Yeah, because I took a photo of it, and it's up on the video, and I wondered what the bloody hell this thing was for years and years and years. I just happened to have a pair of mirrored sunglasses on. I took a photo of myself in the mirror, and you could see it, and it did a double reflection. You could see it behind me. I thought, what the bloody hell is that thing? It was distorted. It looked ugly. I thought, what is this thing? So I didn't know for years what it was. But you can hear it in the video that I'm talking about when you said, oh, I've seen this golem. And I'm like, this is how I do it. I'm like, I've got a photo of it all in one go. My expression was like, oh, my God, surprise. Oh, my God. It was just full on. And then I was like, wow, I've actually got a photo of this thing. And I did some more research on it, and it is tied into the sexual misery program. And I really suggest people to go up and research that, because what it was doing, it was putting filthy thoughts in my mind, and I was thinking it was me, and it was really fucking my head up. And I realized, hang on, this is not me. This is not me at all. And I can understand now why so many people watch porn and all the loosh off the porn. So I suggest people stop watching porn, because you get sexual energies being looshed off and looshed off and looshed off. Why I was so tired all the time, why all these things were happening to me. Everything was just going nuts. I was actually spiraling down and down and further down into density, and my whole life was actually turning into one chaotic mishap after the other. And you had a similar experience too with a black magician. Do you want to go into a little bit about what happened there with yours? How did you discover that?
Well, what happened? Yeah, this lady just contacted me. I just moved, and she contacted me. She was quantum healing hypnosis. She was a practitioner, and she just just moved to the area, and she goes, "Oh, I just seen that you live nearby. Do you want to meet up?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, great. Another weirdo to talk to. There'll be." So I was like, "Great." And then she kept putting it off, but then. So it was like a couple of months later, but in those couple of months, I started getting attacked, and I didn't know what was going on. I just wish I could call Ghostbusters at the time, because it was just like, who do you go to? Do you know what I mean?
Like, who are you gonna call?
You're gonna call Ghostbusters. These black figures at night, and they would not let us sleep. They terrorized us. It was horrendous. And then I went and met her. And I just blurted it out and told her. And she was like, "Oh, you've got to see this guy. He deals with these, they call him jinn." So I was like, "Great." And she said, "Oh, he's really booked up, blah, blah, blah. But I'll get you in next week." So I didn't know of him at all, but he was, known in the community, in the spiritual community. And then he told me that I was a reptilian princess and all this bollocks, and my life
many people get told that.
Yeah.
Stop projecting outside, guys, and go within, because you stop projecting and hooking into all these other archetypes. You are your own individual person and nothing else. So it just leads people down the bloody wrong road, doesn't it?
It does. And my life it just spiraled. So, before I met him, I was, before she contacted me, I was doing well. I was, healing. I was doing reflexology. I was working. And by the end of the 6 months, I was a complete and utter mess. And I became like, I had to watch all these videos. But horrendous stuff happened, Nikki. I got raped by an entity. I got the images like attachments. So it was like, you're going to die today. You're going to die today. I went through hell. My whole family did. And then I went on this psychic protection weekend and just woke up out of this spell. And I knew that the healer that was working on me was the one that's sending me all this crap, all this black magic, Draco energy. It was horrendous. And then I woke up and then tried to get him off. And they did that weekend. They really helped me, but he got back in. And then I had to go through, basically, I had to forgive him. And that's how I got rid of him. And now I have people come to me now and getting attacked by the same man. And, you know, I can help them and get him off them. Yeah, because these people, they live, what's amazing and what I discovered the other day, that these people live off the female energy. So when you're close to them, they feel lovely. But it's not their energy that's making them feel lovely, because they're like vampires and they're stealing all this female energy. So when you're with them, you're like, oh, they're really trusting. You think you're feeling them, but actually you're feeling all the female energy that they're stealing off of all the females that they're connected to. So they feel really trusting and comfortable, and you're like, oh, I can trust this person. But actually it's not their real energy.
We live in such a world of deception. Honestly, everywhere we go, it's just deception everywhere. And we kind of have to, as you know, human beings and awakened people, try and decipher and discern about what is healthy for us and what is not healthy for us. And just because someone, it's all about deception of identities. To me, they're all imposters as far as I'm concerned, and they're all doing this imposter bullshit to suck us all in. So we'll take a bit of a break and we'll be back on the other side with the gorgeous Becky Barron, guys, so stick around.
You're listening to the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
No hate, no hype, no fear.
With the gorgeous Becky Barron, the most amazing remote healer I have ever come across. She's going to be world famous one day if the tunnels of darkness are pulled down and we all get through all this stuff. Now, Becky's schedule is nearly booked out for the whole year, guys. She's got a Patreon and she does private sessions for emergencies and stuff like that. But I'm on your Patreon too, darling. Now, some of the questions that people ask are absolutely amazing. Are there any questions or topics that you want to share with the public, darling, that people ask? Because some of the questions are totally are just mind-blowing. They really are mind-blowing, and I'm so glad that people do ask these amazing and strange different questions, and then other people start to ask similar questions that kind of dovetails, and then by the time we finish the whole thing, it's like this amazing insights of information that kind of all puts all the pieces of the puzzle together. So do you want to talk a little bit about some of the topics that people ask?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I put this Patreon site together, I think it was 5 months ago, and it's just growing and it's just amazing. So every couple of weeks for 2 to 3 hours on a Sunday, people can join, and they just ask me questions, and most of the time I don't know, and I have to go and just go and have a look and see what I discover. But last week was amazing and what came up was the Mibian lines. You know, the Mibian lines, we have 12 Mibian lines in the body, and And lots of healers work on these Meridian lines. But Meridian lines go in with, and this goes into the 12 DNA, and we're told, oh, activate your 12 DNA. Well, that is just complete and utter rubbish. It's the 12 Meridian lines, the 12 DNA was actually created by the Watchers outside of this universe, and how they split the consciousness in these 12 lines in our consciousness in the body, that was through abuse. And so we're not supposed to have Meridian lines. And so when someone goes and gets
are they meridian? You mean meridian lines?
Yeah, sorry.
And they what are they all through our body, are they?
Yeah, through the consciousness. Yeah, so the Chinese and everything, Chinese medicine and lots of healing practices work with these lines.
Okay.
They place the reason that they're there is being manipulated by the Watchers. They traumatize the consciousness right at the beginning when they started messing with us. And so these Meridian lines were created so they could get into our consciousness and fill us with crap. So when we go and get our Meridian lines cleared, we actually get all the stuff cleared so there's more crap to come in. So it was like, oh my God. And then the 12 strands of DNA, it's all a load of rubbish. It's just deception. We actually come in, we have our own consciousness. Now, DNA and consciousness is the same thing. We take on part of our mum's consciousness and a part of our dad's consciousness. And so we're 3 different consciousness when we're children: ourselves, our mum's, and our dad's consciousness. And then we're here to build a 4th strand of consciousness, a 4th DNA. And that's, we cherry pick from our parents what we liked about our parents and what we, the mannerisms and stuff like that. We'll keep that, we'll keep that, throw that away. And we start doing that when we're teenagers. And so there's this rubbish of activating your 12 DNA structure is just a load of rubbish. It's just deception.
Is this why people have problems after having Reiki? Oh, God, I'm going to piss a lot of people off by saying this. Sorry, guys.
So a lot of the healing practices, especially Reiki is a big one. Reiki is just a healing practice that the reptilians set up so they can access people through the Reiki. Reiki energy is a sticky energy. So you could have an amazing Reiki session, but afterwards it just attracts crap on you. So one of the stuff that I do a lot is remove the Reiki symbols, because these symbols are placed onto the consciousness. And, if you have Reiki or you become a Reiki practitioner, you get these symbols. And then you attract crap into your life, gets worse after Reiki. And these practitioners, bless them, they don't know. They've got good intentions, but they're being used on a higher level to get access to a person they're working on, so can they mess up their energies.
And that's why they have to keep coming back and coming back and coming back. So in healing, you really shouldn't have to come back and back and back and back and back. That, would you say that is a sign of someone that is not healthy for you, and then it's not their fault? They're not aware of that. Would you say that would be a sign if you have to keep going back?
You shouldn't rely on a healer. A healer should be there to help you gain your own self-empowerment, to realize where you can, where things are, and you shouldn't rely on a healer. We're our own healers. Yeah, I can assist somebody and help them and guide them, but I can't heal somebody. They do that themselves. So it's assisting, and you shouldn't rely on a healer. If you're reliant on a healer, then there's something. I was looking at a lady and she was really reliant on a healer. This healer that she was working with for years and years. And then I was looking at her consciousness and I'm like, why she was so reliant? And it was because she didn't have the attention as a child, her mum's attention. So she was projecting her mum onto this healer. So it was a little girl in her trying to get the attention she wanted from her mum when she was a little girl. So I just went in, took the trauma out, because the consciousness splits and it goes into different parts of the brain, and then that can activate and the little girl comes out who wants attention from their mum, and then she kept running back to the healer.
Oh, wow, boy, that makes sense. Now, what about ET contact? In my experience, I've had positive interdimensional visions, meditations, but I have never had any positive contact in the 3D reality. And I find a lot of people are projecting out, giving their power away, trying to take me on the spaceship and heal me and all this kind of stuff. Have you experienced any positive? Has anybody come to you in your experiences that they've had positive contact with ETs? Because I feel they're the same thing as what the Reiki and the healers are doing, where we're projecting our consciousness out and giving our power away, and not going in and inside ourselves and into our heart to discover the truth about what is really going on. There's too many people projecting their consciousness out and looking up at lights in the sky and all this kind of stuff. What's your experiences of and some of the stuff that people have heard? Are they is it the same as me? Like, I've had no positive ET contact in the 3D reality. It's always been bloody negative.
Yeah. If you look at the matrix around Earth, all that in the satanic energy is like completely stand still. It's stopped, which is fantastic. But this matrix around all the planets in this universe is exactly the same. So the ETs in this universe is just fucked up as we are. They're just in this abusive victim mentality. So people are claiming, oh, Pleiadians are amazing and this is amazing. It's just absolute rubbish. They're just as messed up as us. And they use this.
Well, that's a comfort to know.
Yeah. You wouldn't go to a stranger, would you? It's like go to a stranger and go, well, have access to my energy field without even talking to them because you're told that this is a really nice energy. I mean, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there are positive interactions. There is really, really positive. You've got this universe that's really messed up, that has been really messed up. We're coming out of the mess. And then you've got the Watchers in another universe, and then you've got another dark universe next to them. But there is a really positive universe that's helping us. And a lot of what we would call the star seeds and everything have come from that, because Gaia sent out a call back in the 40s needing help. She was in real trouble and knew that she lost contact with a lot of the consciousness here on Earth. Something was very wrong. So she sent out this call to this other universe, which I call the blue universe. And there's planets in there. And they got together and basically sent a lot of consciousness here to help Gaia. So a lot of the people that I speak to are from this universe, and they have contact with the beings there, or go to that universe to go back home when they're sleeping and stuff like that. So there is real positive help that we have, but we are the help. We are ones here on the ground, and basically we're portals really to bring in this light energy and bring in and stop this abusive mentality that's going on. And you think that's why Guy sent out the call in the 40s. I don't know exactly what date, but in 1940s sometimes, late 1940s. And then you think of the reality that's changed, the music, the movies and everything like that. You think of the stuff, how we were living back in the 1940s, 1930s, 1920s to how we're living now. There's so much more positivity now.
And everything was so grey and the gaudy colours and stuff. And I found that very interesting what you said about when she did put the call out, how magically, like in the 60s, everything became more colourful and everything was more colour. You look back in the say, I don't know, 70 years ago, everything was grey and the colour of our clothes and everything was just really bland and boring, almost black and white. And then when all the star seeds and indigos came in, the colour, and then of course we've got the psychedelic movement and everything like that pushed it even more further. But I found that very interesting, that it reflected back into much more colourful and the rainbow and blah 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 blah. And that to me was very interesting, seeing how the different stages of where we are now, and now we're getting I know that in my own with my own visions and my own meditations and dreams too, the colours are just so much more brighter, or they're pastel and they're bright, but it's kind of hard to sort of describe, and they're colours that I've actually never seen before, and I find that really fascinating, because there's one thing I do love in life is colour. Yeah, gotta have colour.
I mean, have colour. Yeah. So and how we connect to this beautiful energy is connecting to our hearts, because it seems that the control that they have is just on the right side of the brain, where they steal the female energy, and when they steal the female energy and they seem to target families, that person that grows up with their energy being stolen without even realizing, causes health problems. It causes a belief of lack of So they're always wanting and needing and never content. And but I mean, that's it really. But the programming is on the right. But our hearts, the reason our brain is a receiver is because it's supposed to receive the energy from our heart. We're supposed to program ourselves, nobody else, not outside world, not the reptilians, not the TV, not the politicians, nothing. You know, we're supposed to our own consciousness. And what's happened is that they've tried to, and even they've taken over the love and light community. It's all, so much of it is deception. To the angels, to all these love and light ETs that are going to come and save us. No one's going to save us. You're going to save yourself. You could live in a complete paradise, Nikki. You know, there'll be no issues whatsoever. You've got everything you need. But if you've got an abusive mind, then your reality is not going to be fine. Do you know what I mean? It's like you're not going to be at peace. Peace will only come when you have a peaceful mind and you have yourself and you're connected to your heart and you know who you are. So and
the need to be right all the time too. You know, I've kind of let that go. I understand that I do co-create, or I should say miscreate. You know, when we had a bit of a laugh last week when I said no, it's not I'm right and she's wrong. And you know, and that is so juvenile, really, isn't it? And then I've learned to become more unity conscious, and I've learned to sit in the middle and be the witness and the observer of both sides, and not judge. And I understand that I fall into judgment sometimes, and judgment and discernment are two different things, because judgment is judging something really, really bad, and discernment is like, okay, that's not healthy for me, and I just need to kind of back away. I think people need to kind of understand the difference between this polarity consciousness, because what you said about the male and the female is also about that too, and it's the stuff around us is designed to split all that apart, and I'm bringing all that back together, and that has given me a lot of peace by being in the middle and not going into that I'm right and she's wrong mentality, which just puts you in this, like you said, a split consciousness and a belief system that keeps you going for the rest of your life. And then you wonder why your whole life is totally screwed up, because you're ping-ponging from left to right into this reaction. You know what I mean? A lot of people I see, especially young people, they are ping-pong from one drama to the next, bang, 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 bang over the time. And it's not until they get a little bit older and sit in the middle and just don't judge so much, and stop watching the TV, because that's, you know, don't even bother about watching, you know, stuff like Judge Judy and all that kind of stuff, because that just holds that split in. And we're trying to do the opposite here, because we originally were whole human, beautiful human beings. And because of all the mind control and everything and the deception around that, it's designed to split, like you said, those two consciousness, the male and the female, and we've lost our heart. You know, I know I haven't lost my heart. I know it's there, but I understand that the male energy was just coming in because I didn't feel safe, and I didn't feel protected and all that kind of stuff. And I didn't understand that until you explained that to me in such a way that just like, and you know what, I still have, after our session, not only did I was hit with a complete different consciousness and awakening the next day, but even now, after 5 months, I still have little things that come to me that click in, that what you said, like 5 months ago. This was 5 months ago, you know. And so when you go and have a healing with Becky, it's not just a one thing overnight. This kind of comes in stages, you know, and it's like an unfolding of things. And when you start to ask questions about why my life was so traumatic, or why my life was so extreme compared to other people, those answers do eventually come to you, not instantly like Becky. Becky gets her answers instantly, and that's what's so fantastic about her gift. Whereas me, mine comes in little dribs and drabs, or a big whack, or, you know, later on down the road. And I think it's probably because the energetics of myself has changed, and I've had realizations, and my belief systems, bullshit belief systems, have dissolved away, and that has created a much more harmonious person inside. And that's why I can have this great conversation with you today without having all the distortions and that from the last time, because there was something in my field that you must have picked up on. Yeah? Yeah.
It's basically every consciousness has an energy signature. It vibrates at a certain energy. Now, if we lose, and that, you know, with the higher self to the soul and everything like that. Now, if we lose the vibration, we go a little bit out of our vibration, the light bodies, then it's very hard to get the information. So it basically, the work is getting you in your vibration. What takes us out of the vibration is trauma, because it lowers us. So when we get into the right vibration, then it's way more easy to connect to our hearts and get the information through. So
that makes sense.
Everything that we need to know and understand in order to evolve, because we're here to evolve. That's the point of living, to enjoy and love life, but to evolve and understand ourselves. It's all within our own consciousness. It's never outside. So, you know, and so asking ourselves the questions, and then the answer will come. So it's like we all know deep down, but it's and I suppose what I do is just make it easier, because I can travel and see and understand where they're having a hard time, where the right and the left brain are just not on the same page, because most of the time they're not. They're fighting with one another, they're abusing one another, they're not listening to one another. Quite interestingly, our universe, you've got Gaia, which is pure female energy, and then universe around it, which is masculine energy. Now, how they got into our universe is that they got into the masculine energy at the top, and they attacked the memory of us. So and they really attacked it. So this is why, you know, when we come into this reality, all of us forget who we are, and that is done deliberately. That is abuse, right, on a mass scale. And so that's all healing at the moment. So what Gaia and universal energies, what we're doing, what my intention for a person when they come to see me is get the male and the female energy working together, so they're on the same page and in harmony with one another. And what's also happening on a mass scale is Gaia and universal energies are coming together. They have, you know, Gaia is a consciousness just like us, and she has feelings and everything just like us, and she's been attacked to decades by the Watchers and the other universe and the people that have come here. And they've also attacked the universal energies. Well, the male energy is so important because it's what grounds us, it protects us. It's you know, if we didn't have male energy, we'd go like loopy. You know, we wouldn't even be in 3D reality. The male energy helps us be in 3D reality.
I know a few blokes that are a bit limpy. Now you were talking about the NPCs, right? Or the non-player characters, or the holographic people a lot of people talk about. This was so interesting. You said they went into their rooms and they don't know they're free. They don't know they're free, so that's why they keep miscreating all the time. And you said that this is because the matrix is coming down. Is the spider still at the top of the matrix? Is that all?
No, that's all come down. So
wow.
That's all come down. That came down last year. So basically we're seeing the fall of the royal family, and that's because where we're creating it has all come down, and then it takes time to come into this reality. So everything, all the satanic stuff is stopped, everything. I mean, the control and the manipulation and abuse we're nearly at the end of that all stopping. So we're just going to see it all in this reality. We're seeing the collapse of the Watchers, of the reptilians, everything. We're living in amazing times, like amazing.
Yeah.
We're like front row amazing. Yeah.
Well,
and
that's
with the sorry, Nikki, we were trapped into a computer, and they projected basically overlays. So they and how they did that, so they could congregate. The population of this planet is a lot less. So it's like 7 billion or something apparently, but it's actually between 2 and 3 billion. And so a lot of the people that we see are not real people. We project them in from the computer, and through our belief structures. This is why they always immigration, and then we have that belief, and then we'll start projecting out into our reality. But it is all, that computer is overlaid over our universe, so they project stuff in. So a lot of the stuff, people like UFOs and stuff, and a lot of stuff I go up and it's just holograms and not real UFOs, but they are real UFOs, but some of it is just holograms.
That was really interesting because that really did kick in, and I thought, wow, if we realize that we're free, we can start hopping on the wave of this beautiful energy that's coming in, and we can start co-creating a really beautiful world. Right, so that while this other world was breaking down, now I think the funniest thing you ever told me was that terrible image you had of Bill Gates and what was the and Fauci and Becky's got a video about that on that, guys. So go and check that out, because that was actually quite funny. I was having a giggle about that, and then they have like sexual energy and it goes into the matrix and that. So that's all falling at the moment. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, literally, the satanic energy is literally stopped to the point where the Watch of the Universe are pumping stuff around Gaia to keep, because the people that lived on this satanic energy, the elite, it goes into religion and everything like that. They need that energy because it also gives them the illusion of power. They don't live off the heart energy. They give their heart energy when they do, when they do the satanic stuff. So they've got no natural energy, the natural vitality that they should be living off. They've gone too far, and they're living off this satanic energy. This satanic energy is they're not doing it anymore. So it's like these people are basically imploding on themselves. They've got no energy. They're running out of food source. They're so it's at the moment, and Guy went through a massive attack last week where they're pumping all this metallic energy around her, and so that was a big attack. But they're desperate. They're like desperate to try and keep, but they've lost. They're not gonna. They've lost. They're just.
Yay!
I wish they did go to the. Yeah, they go in, but I'm very. But people need to be aware, because consciousness just keeps creating the same thing. They don't realize that they're free. So. But what's going to happen is that this satanic energy that surrounded all of consciousness, that's attached to Gaia and all the other planets, it kept everybody in fear, because the feeling, obviously we don't see it, but the feeling into our reality is horrendous. I mean, the way they torture and sacrifice consciousness to produce electricity, well, our light bodies all surrounded that. So when we're in fear, what do? We sleep. We go to sleep. It's too terrifying to be awake. So what's going to happen is more people are going to wake up, because there's less fear in our reality. So people are going to wake up. Well, they have been waking up. We've been waking up for decades, but it's going to be people are going to really wake up, and because there's less fear, they can't produce the fear to keep people asleep.
Well, that is wonderful news. Now, we've got about a minute left, darling. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. I just love you so much. You're just amazing. I can't wait to see you on the great big stage doing all your stuff like Dolores Cannon. That I know you're going to be making a huge mark in our history books, the ones that haven't been burnt anyway. Tell everyone how they can get in contact with you, darling.
Yeah, well, I do have my website. It's called findthelight-rb.co.uk. And on there, you can access all my writing, all my blogs. You can access my YouTube. And this is all free. And you can book an appointment. You can only book emergency appointments at the moment, because I am fully booked up for the rest of the year. But you can also become a Patreon. So you can join us on our question and answers every 2 weeks, because the questions that people ask is amazing. So you get an opportunity to ask me a question, and I can remote view and do whatever. So findthelight-rb.co.uk. You can access everything there.
All right, guys, I'm going to love you and leave you, and I'll see you next week, guys, for the Nikki Colombo Show. Thank you for joining me for this wonderful show I've been looking forward to.